Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Vibing with Sleezy, the podcast. This is season 3, episode 4. Um, this is a episode I've been wanting to do probably since season 1. A big part of my life is fantasy football, and I have always wanted to do a fantasy football episode, talk fantasy football, and kind of gear it up so it actually times out right before the NFL season, which is how this has all worked out. So my special guest is none other than Eric Bush, my buddy, one of the leaders of one of my fantasy football groups. He is the commissioner. The things I'll say about Eric Bush before I kind of let him say hello is I'll have to say the guy runs a hell of a fantasy league. The guy is very knowledgeable in football. He's the biggest LA Chargers fan I know. I know he wishes they were still in San Diego. And also, he is just a hell of a party planner. I'm telling you what, I've been to probably 10 to 20 of this guy's parties. And shout out to his wife, Rachel, as well. They know how to throw a party. Derby, Christmas, Thanksgiving, fantasy football, whatever theme it is, they knock it out. There's always something new, and Eric brings the heat. So I got to tell Eric, you are the party man. So, Eric, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me. I'm ready for fantasy football. I get excited around this time of the year. So.
Oh yeah, I'm really amped up. I'm excited about fantasy, and I think at the end of the day, it brings you that happiness every year.
Yeah, I love it. It consumes me. My wife jokes that she's going to divorce me during football season. So it consumes a lot of my life.
So. Well, Rachel, the thing about Rachel I love is that she will be a part of some of the drafts. I don't think she'll be part of probably this one doing the things she usually do, but she always be putting up the names on the board.
And I told her I didn't want her to this year because we had to add 2 people. So an extra 2 people downstairs is going to be really tight. So I'm just going to move all this stuff myself. But it'll still be great. We have awesome. Somebody zooming in for the first time, so that'll be different. But
zooming in, they're gonna miss out because there's always good food, there's pit bull action, and it's kind of cozy down there, and I like it. And people talk shit during the draft.
Bob talks shit.
Yeah, Bob talks shit. Yeah, everybody else is pretty quiet, humble, and then somebody will be like, "Oh, whoa, look at that pick," or somebody will be like, "Oh, wow." We had a diehard Colts fan, Bob, who we mentioned, and he's drafted Andrew Luck before when Andrew Luck retired. We've had some questionable drafts, but it's always been a great league. That league's always competitive. I always come up like in the middle, around like the middle of that league. It frustrates the shit out of me, but I'm going to eventually one day win. I want to pick them. I think it was like 4 years ago with you when you did a pick 'em, but that's about as far as it's went. So I'm excited about the pick 'em as well this year. The pick 'em's gonna be great.
I'm horrible at that. I've done it for 10 plus years, and I've won 1 week ever. So I'm horrible at
it. Is it now? How do you go about it? Are you kind of more of like, I want to base it off maybe their previous week, or are you trying to base it off of just, that's how I feel about that
So
team?
The pick'em, you're ranking all 16 games each week. You're picking a winner, and you're ranking each one by your confidence level. I just go as straight. I try to do 16 on Thursday, no matter what the game is. And then if I did good, just do all my picks completely normal.
Yeah.
If I missed my 16, let's throw some weird ones in there to try to gain some points back. But I've just always been horrible at it. I think you have to be very strategic, and when others are picking a team for 16, maybe do one to where you can still win it. But if it loses, now you have a huge edge on everyone else. So I'm just never strategic with that stuff. I just pick them.
Yeah, and I the thing that's good about pick 'em is sometimes you can kind of get lucky because you're like, oh, they're playing the Jets or they're playing some, you can base it off that. But yeah, it can always be, you never know. The NFL, you never know who's going to pull it off.
That's what got me into football a lot is when I was 8 or 9, probably, my dad was in one and he would bring the sheets home. And this is like back when you had to like call the person. So everyone's calling that guy in the morning on Sundays, putting their picks in. And it was just this blank white sheet with each of the games. And it was like, that was my first experience trying to even like know who's good, who's bad, and keeping up with like, oh, this is my 16. I got to watch this game. So that was real big on getting me into it. And now I'm a huge gambler, so.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm the same way. My first experience with Pick'em. I shout out, rest in peace, Clyde Bowman at Cavaliers Bar down in Portland, downtown in Louisville. He ran a bar, and it's called Cavaliers. Still in existence, new ownership. But man, every Friday I go down to selling beer, and he'd be sitting there behind the bar in his little Cavaliers jacket, and he would go, "You ready for Pick'em?" And he'd have a door tag, and it'd have every game, and he's telling me to check off games, and he's like, "Where's your money?" And people are stopping by, and he'd always run that Pick'em, get them in. And the funniest thing about it, he would play pick 3 every day, and always pick 3-1-2 as his number. And one day we're doing Pick'ems, like getting towards the end of the season. He's like, "Never gonna win that shit." And then I don't know where 3-1-2 comes in. He goes crazy and celebrates. So it was cool to see that. But yeah, Pick'em was like, it was just really exciting to do that on Fridays.
I love all those weird, different betting sort of things. I'm in one. It's a guy, Stooges runs it, and it's called Club 33.
Mm-hmm.
And 32 people are in it, and each week you're given a random team. You email or text them out on Thursday, and if that team lands on 33 points exactly, you win the money. If no one wins, that money banks to the next week,
Okay.
And so, like, just any weird survivor pools, checkerboard pool, I like doing all that stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome. And fantasy football, for the people listening, like I said, this is the Vibing with Sleezy fantasy football episode. And what I want to get across with this one, I mean, we are going to dive deep into this NFL season. For anybody that is novice what fantasy football is, it's where you're basically drafting a team, you're in a league, you're competing with others, you're pretty much the general manager of this team, and you set the lineup every week, and you have a bench, and there's injuries, there can be trades. I mean, you pretty much are the general manager. And so fantasy football, if you never played, try it. Right now I'm in 3 leagues. I've been in 4 before. It's addicting, like Eric said. And it's fun as shit. And every year it keeps getting better and better. And the way the NFL keeps growing and the talent, there's never a chance for you to really have a shitty team. I mean, you might have a shitty team, but because of injuries and stuff. But I'm saying in the beginning, there's so much talent that goes around. I mean, the NFL is it's really got it.
A lot of, how I said, we were moving from 12 people to 14 in this league. And a lot of the people are a little nervous thinking, oh, it's going to be so many less people to pick. And I've gone through mock drafts a bunch already, and you have good rosters still. You still have, if you at least pay attention a little bit, you're going to find people that are startable, are playable. So I'm not nervous at all about it. Other people might be.
But. Let me ask you this. So you mentioned mock drafts. Do you find the mock draft valuable? Do you find it beneficial that helps you drafting? I mean, some people do, some people don't. I'm curious.
I do, because I think it helps with my decision making real quick. There's always going to be, when I look at the draft board, when my pick comes up, 2 or 3 guys I'm looking at. And I think I've done I've done like 10 plus mock drafts already, where I just know, okay, it's the 8th round, it's between Christian Kirk, a rookie like Chris Olave, and Alan Lazard, who's going to be like Packers' #1 guy right now. I already know I like Lazard more than those 2. I think the decision making, and knowing I've already been in that situation, I already know guys that I lean towards when I get to them. So I think that helps. Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. And they've helped me from the standpoint of looking at, like, kind of to help me in the earlier rounds. The earlier rounds, because there is so much talent on the board, it can really bring that pressure, because it's kind of some of the picks that you live or die on. I mean, you can either really win a championship with those first few picks, or you could be like, this dude had a major injury, or this guy didn't cut it the way he got hyped. Like Allen Robinson back in the day, like he was real hyped, those kind of players.
I think opposite of that. I think early rounds, just don't do anything stupid. If someone has the tiniest question mark, don't pick them. Pick with who normally puts up the stuff, and just go with it. I think this guy's going to get better this year. I just go pretty basic on your early picks. Late in the draft is when I'm taking my shots on guys that, you have no clue about and hoping to strike rich on one. But early, just don't do anything stupid.
Are you looking at too when you're picking a team more of like stat wise, yards, touchdowns, or are you looking at more of how many attempts or like how much is this guy getting out the year? And I know people are like, well, duh, he's picking the yards, the touchdowns. But do you want to see that guy producing?
I'm a roll. I look at the roll.
Yeah.
If maybe not in the draft, I'm going for roll, but at the same time during the season, I see so many times in like waivers, someone will pick up a guy who had 2 catches for 95 yards and 2 touchdowns, but he only got thrown to those 2 times, and it was just a lucky week. Everyone uses their waivers to go get him because he just had a 25, 30-point fantasy week, and he's not going to continue that production. That was random.
Yeah.
So then they waste their waiver, and then when someone comes up that might actually be a new starter. I think you need to look at role. You need to look at who's in front of them, like especially with wide receivers. Like everyone, like Devontae Adams switched to Raiders this year. So a lot of people are like, well, that's down for Renfro and down for Darren Waller. That could be up for them because they've never had a go-to guy taking up that much coverage. So now they might have a field day every single week. So I think role has a huge part of it, more than what they did last year necessarily.
And would you say too that like with this season coming up, what are you more excited about? Are you excited about the quarterbacks, the running backs, or the receivers? What's the like out of those 3 categories? What do you think is going to be really producing for fantasy? Just off this season coming up.
I think receivers, because I think receivers have come into the league the last 3 or 4 years and right away produced. Jamar Chase, rookie, has phenomenal rookie season. Even back to like Odell Beckham when he had his rookie year, phenomenal rookie year. Mike Evans has been phenomenal since his rookie year. Like guys come straight in, and I mean, Jalen Waddle rookie last year, 1,000-yard rookie. So I think wide receivers have the most like upside as far as like going from nothing to something. Running backs, I think it's a crapshoot. They get hurt. That 1 week, the coach doesn't like something, and now they have a new starting running back, and he gets 2 touches a week the rest of the year. So running backs is a crapshoot. Quarterback, I don't worry about that much. There's 14 quality quarterbacks out there. So I'm going to wait. If I see one that I desperately want and no one's taking them 5th round, 6th round, then I'll bite, but I just stay off of it for a while.
I see a lot of late quarterbacks getting picked up this year. I see, like you said, that early talent, but when you get to that range of like maybe that 20 to 28 guy, I see those fall in the 13th to 16th round because people are too nervous to even bank on them being a bench player during their bye week. Yeah. It makes you nervous. So with this episode, I want to dive deep into the NFL. I want to give opinions, give facts. We're going to talk about different teams. We're going to talk about every team, actually. So let's start off with your division. You are an LA Chargers fan, and you are, I know, number one, amped up and excited about this season because your division is probably the best division in football right now, just talent-wise across the board. So what would you say is your projected forward finish? And I'll project mine.
Well, first off, I think it's going to be the best division there's ever been in a single season.
Wow, that's a hot take. That's a hot take.
All 4 teams last year were either above 500 or right at 500, and that's with Teddy Bridgewater as Broncos quarterback. You add Russell Wilson. You add Devontae Adams to Raiders. Chargers add Khalil Mack. They add J.C. Jackson. Like every team got better besides Chiefs, but they've won it 5 or 6 straight. So you just can't say, oh, they're not going to be good this year. I think it's going to be the best division ever in football. I don't want to be a homer, but I lean towards Chargers, and then I'd say Chiefs or Raiders second, and I'm taking Broncos last.
Okay.
I don't like Broncos weapons nearly as much as a lot of other people do.
So let's talk about the Broncos starting off. I like that projected 4. I'm going to tell you my projected 4 before we dive in the Broncos real quick. I will say, actually, I agree with you. I'm going to go LA Chargers with the first place finish because I think this is the year Justin Herbert takes it to another level. I also believe the Raiders will fall second. I do like what they did last year. I think they did fall short. There was too many distractions. I think this is their year to kind of I think the Chiefs do fall back a little bit. I think they still got the talent. They might get a wild card, but they are they're kind of in that second or third mix. I don't see them topping the division. And then I'm also agreeing with you. I think the Broncos fall last. And the reason I say that is Russell's got the talent, but I still don't see all the pieces of a championship team in Denver, in my opinion.
Well, Cortland Sutton is projected to be their number one. To me,
we're talking about the Broncos
he's not like a star receiver. Judy has the potential to be a superstar, but he in 2-3 years has not produced like they thought he would. And you still have you don't know if Javonte Williams gets the playing time because he was a really good rookie running back, but Melvin Gordon was re-signed. They got rid of their number one tight end, Noah Fant, in the trade.
Yeah, what do you think about the Noah Fant trade? I thought that was crazy. He was such producing.
Well, he was it's all about getting Russell Wilson, but I don't know why Seattle even wanted him. I think they should have just gone and got more picks because they're not doing anything. So getting a tight end for Geno to throw to or Drew Lock to throw to is not going to be anything.
Yeah, because Noah, I felt like if Noah stayed in Denver and was able to play with Russell, you might be looking at a 1,000-yard season. In Seattle, might be making 500 yards. And it's one of those cases where you're like, I agree. I think Jerry Jeudy really does need to step it up. But I do think that offense is questionable. And I do believe that offensive line, they're really going to have to protect Russell for him to hit these picks. I mean, some of these guys aren't used to catching 100 balls a year.
They've had Drew Lock, Teddy Bridgewater, and even the year before that, I can't even think who was in Denver the year before with Drew Lock. So they've had no quality quarterback. So, I mean, that's an upgrade for those receivers, but I just think the whole division's so good that's my fourth place team.
And then the talking about the Chiefs, of course you have Mahomes. I think Tyreek Hill losing that piece is huge hit to the offense. Like absolutely could be a complete game changer. I know that you have Travis Kelce. I know that you still have some weapons, but I mean, do you think that wide receiver core can like two guys can do what Tyreek did maybe production wise?
No, I think Tyreek Hill was so important because he's a bailout for Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes he's not rushing like Lamar, but he's one of the best quarterbacks I've ever seen that defender's about to sack me, get out of it, go this way, go that way, buys time. And Tyreek, you can't stay on him. You can't cover him for 6 seconds. So Patrick Mahomes was bailed out by Tyreek Hill so many times over the last 3 or 4 years that you're just not replacing him. You added Valdez-Scantling from Green Bay, but he was never some huge guy in Green Bay. You're wanting Nicole Hardman to take that next step because he's a speedster. When they drafted him, they thought would be like Tyreek, and he's never produced like Tyreek. And I think he actually got hurt today.
These practice injuries are scary.
And then they got Smith-Schuster. He's coming off an injury. He wasn't that good after his rookie year when he didn't have Antonio Brown with him. I just don't think that receiving corps is that good at all.
And I think Patrick Mahomes is going to really have a wake-up call. Like, I'm talented, I'm good, but I'm going to have to step my game up because, like you said, he had such an opportunity every time just to give it to Tyreek, and you're getting possibly a first down just off of speed alone. Let's get to the Raiders. So I want to say this. One of my top 10 picks this year of just top 10, I think, fantasy players overall that people should get is Hunter Renfrow. The reason why, and I think you had a great earlier call like 5 minutes ago with Darren Waller too. I could actually probably add him to that top 10. I think those two guys, what they did last year and that trust that they got from Derek Carr, Hunter Renfrow, I mean, dude, he can even be a deep option.
He could be like a Cooper Kupp type player because
yes, exactly.
You're gonna have to cover Devontae Adams deep. You have a huge-bodied, like impossible to guard mismatch in Darren Waller. they're not going to be able to put two guys on Hunter Renfrow. And he's just that sneaky, quick route runner that is going to, I mean, he'll have more receptions than Devontae just off of dump downs. And like, I can see Devontae with 100 catches, and I can see Renfrow with 110, 115, just because he'll get less yards on each one, but he's going to get it thrown to him a ton.
I think that Derek Carr, he's going to be putting up Detroit Lion Matt Stafford numbers where he's launching the ball 50 times a game. And I think at this point in his career, this is the time to do it. I don't see him being able to do that towards the later years. He's kind of in his prime. You know, he's had some good years. This is time. This is time for the Raiders to let that ball rip, see what Derek can really do. I mean, he has no excuses now for no talent around him.
He's one of those quarterbacks I was talking about that I'll skip on Kyler and Lamar and maybe even Herbert, even though that's hard for me to do. Early in the draft, keep building up my running back wide receiver core. And at 13 of the 14 people have already picked their quarterbacks, he could be right up there with top 5 quarterbacks this year.
He could be throwing 6,000 yards.
So I can easily see it'd be a good idea to wait and get someone like a Derek Carr later in the rounds, because he's going to put up numbers this year with the receiving core, with the tight end. I don't think they trust Josh Jacobs nearly as much as they did his rookie year. And they drafted Z White. I think it's Zamir White out of Georgia. And I think he's going to be one of those all-purpose types that's not necessarily getting 100 yards rushing, but he's going to get 6-7 catches. He's a dump-off Austin Eckler type of running back. So he's going to get some catches. Like he's going to have wide-open players. And when you're playing Chiefs twice, Chargers twice, Broncos twice, they're going to be high-scoring games. That's a really good quarterback that can put up big numbers this year.
I agree, and I really like that take. I think you're really accurate with that, because Derek Carr is somebody that is definitely going to stand out when we get to the middle of that draft board in those mid rounds. Let me ask you this. So let's get to your team. The LA Chargers. I'm excited to hear your take. Like I said before, you know, I think Justin Herbert, this is his best year coming up. I think he explodes. And I think that what you all have done for the defense is now going to actually help the offense, because they're going to have more possessions with the stoppage you're getting.
Well, okay, so we added Khalil Mack, and I think that's one of the biggest offseason moves, because Bosa has never had another defensive end to take up any sort of pressure off of him. And he's still in the top 2 or 3 every year in QB pressure percentage. So he's going to get to the quarterback way more this year, because he's never put up huge sack numbers. I think that's going to be one of the biggest pieces as far as Chargers going far, is just adding Khalil Mack, giving Bosa more room to do something. But the Herbert thing I think is big is, when did Seattle and Russell Wilson win the Super Bowl? When he was on a rookie deal. When did Mahomes win it? When he was on a rookie deal. Even going back to the Eagles upsetting Brady and the Patriots, Wentz, even though he wasn't starting, he's on a rookie deal. Your quarterback being on a rookie deal, being able to spend money on Khalil Mack, J.C. Jackson, they just re-signed or extended Derwin James today.
Highest paid safety in NFL
They
history.
extended Mike Williams, so they got him and Keenan Allen locked up. Being able to pay all these other players while your quarterback's on a rookie deal, that's when they win Super Bowls. So that's what gets me excited this year.
I really do. I will say this. I know you're more of a homer. I will say I think the LA Chargers make a deep run. They could potentially win the Super Bowl, but they're not my Super Bowl choice. I don't think they make it to the final, but I do believe they have a chance. Let's get into that NFC West. That is such an interesting division, because the Rams, of course, are coming out on top, in my opinion. This is my 4. I think after the Rams, you're like, okay, you got 2 other teams and then a shit team. Because I think what it comes down to is, I'm going to go with the 49ers second, just because of experience. I know with the rookie quarterback, but I think, because I know Jimmy G, I think, is going to eventually get moved out. But then I think third-wise, I'm definitely going to go with the Arizona Cardinals. I think they have the talent. I'm not a big fan of Kyler Murray. I don't think he's, in my opinion, as great as everybody makes it. And then I think Seattle finishes last. Seattle is absolutely terrible. I don't care about Geno or Drew Lock, just all across the board. Pete Carroll never wanted to do at that age a revamp, a restart, and that's what they're actually doing. So I think that's the order. What's your opinion?
Rams first. I do think it's sort of a toss-up also because I don't love Arizona. I don't think Kyler has the it factor when it comes to like the personality for the quarterback. He's as talented as can be, but he always has great first halves of the seasons, gets the tiniest bit banged up, and then his second half of the year is just not that good. Arizona was the number 1 team in the league record-wise 2 years ago. He gets hurt and they lose 4 or 5 straight. He's not running the ball much. I mean, they've done that every year. So I would actually lean 49ers also. Arizona's without DeAndre Hopkins for 8 games, suspension. And you brought in Marquise Brown, but I mean, to me, he was never a game changer with Lamar, and Kyler's in that same mold. And I like the coaching in San Francisco more.
Mm-hmm.
I like their weapons, Debo and Ayuk, and it doesn't even matter which running back they play. They always just churn out 100 yards no matter which running back's playing. George Kittle is better than Arizona's any tight end they have. And yeah, I'd go San Francisco second, Arizona third, and Seattle's awful. I don't know if I want to pick Metcalf or Lockett with Geno or Drew Lock. So
yeah, I totally agree.
And maybe their rookie running back, if depending on when he's on the board, Kenneth Walker, he'll be their rookie running back, and I think Penny gets the start, but he's had 6 good games in his 4-year career.
Well, who's going to be? I mean, who is starting for Seattle? Do you think it's Geno going?
I think it's Geno. Yeah,
I believe so too. Do you think Drew Lock comes in week 3, or is that too early?
I mean, I don't think they're competing either way, so it's irrelevant when he comes in. But I think Geno starts, and that's weird because I think Geno's ceiling is what it is. You're getting a year out of him. He's not your future at all. Drew Lock to me isn't your future, but he at least has the potential to like show you something. So them liking Geno this much, I don't think that shows Drew Lock doesn't have a future there.
Yeah, and I think Geno probably, if he ever does leave Seattle or Pete Carroll steps away, I think just what Geno's proven and done and the word of mouth from the Seattle franchise, that just secured Geno 5+ more years being a backup somewhere else. Or, maybe they throw him in a shitty team and he starts a year. At the end of the day, it's just giving
He'll end up being like a Tyrod type thing.
Yeah, it gives him a
one year to another after someone drafts, starts first 2 or 3 games until a rookie's ready or something.
Well, sometimes you got to look in the mirror at that point in your career and be like, okay, I'm not a Hall of Famer. I'm not an All-Pro. I'm making fucking shitload more money than anybody I know. I need to continue this. If I'm a backup, I'm a backup. But keep working hard to go to a star. I'm not saying sell or give in, but at the end of the day, you got to realize, hey, this is the best move of my career.
You bringing up money for a backup. Chase Daniel is Chargers backup, and I think the stat I saw the other day, he's made like $50 million in his career.
He's the 35th highest,
and he has started 1 or 2 games in his career.
He's like
and
the 35th.
$50 million.
Yeah, he's like the 35th highest paid quarterback in NFL history, and that's his numbers. I mean, he was the backup to Stafford in Detroit.
He was backup to Drew Brees with the Saints. He's backup with maybe the Chiefs for a year or 2, but they trust him, and
they say he's a great guy.
Yeah,
they say he's just like down to earth, and teammates like him. And I've heard the same thing about Casey Keenum. I've heard he is just a great guy, and people just like him, and he's just fun to be around. And he's kind of a, an NFLer, like from the standpoint he bounces around.
But okay, so now the Rams, I'm not worried about them at all besides this whole Stafford elbow thing. That's the only thing that worries me at all, is they're saying it's not something they'll be able to fix, but it's not a injury that he can't work through. It'll just be pain management. But anytime you see that, it's just, you have no clue how much it's going to actually affect them.
And permanently, and for the rest of the career.
and you brought in Allen Robinson, who was sort of thrown to the side. He was like just great year the year before, and then Chicago last year just sort of went new coach, don't really care about him that much, and he just didn't play the second half of the year.
Yeah.
So that's a big name they brought in, but is he as good as a healthy Robert Woods? Is he as good as what Odell gave him last year? I don't know.
Yeah, because people keep asking the question, can Cooper Kupp have the repeat of the Triple Crown, all that? I think Allen Robinson definitely is going to even help Cooper's production because, again, it's back to pulling coverage, different things. There's, Stafford does have Allen Robinson probably on the opposite side of the field each time. But, yeah, I believe in Stafford. I believe he's I think he's one of the toughest quarterbacks in the NFL because he can play through the pain. But, yeah, for the future, and then you think of his head space. Okay, I've won a Lombardi. I'm now in L.A. He's only got a few years left in the contract. You hope, especially, I guess, as a Rams fan, if you were one, it's like, I want Stafford to see if he can play as long as he can. But it's like, with him winning Lombardi, with him having the stats that he's done and a Pro Bowl, is he ready to hang it up? Like, I don't know.
They lost their offense coordinator also. He went to Minnesota, I think, to be their head coach. You know who their offense coordinator is now?
Who?
Liam Cohen.
Oh, okay.
From Kentucky. So
this is
his first time being an offense coordinator in the NFL. He's been with the Rams before, so he knows what McVay wants. He knows how to run that offense, but still tough to go on the sideline week in and week out and call plays for the first time.
Oh, yeah, and then you have Tutu Atwell out there from Louisville. They said he's having a huge camp.
They didn't even play him in the preseason game because they want him healthy and they say he has a spot. So to me, he can easily be that, like, he's not a running back, but he's quick like a running back and has that speed and small. He can be that scat back that comes in and just catches out of the backfield, gets little dump offs. He can get slot. Like, he can do a lot of different things.
He will be Rondell Moore.
Yeah,
he will be Rondell Moore of the Arizona Cardinals. Like, he will, I think, have those rookie stats, have those numbers. And, U of L, like, me and you are both Kentucky fans. Fuck Louisville. But at the end of the day, I will say this. They did have some great receivers that last season. A couple got drafted. Actually, maybe it was a year before they had the two get drafted, because the year that St. Brown got drafted for the Lions, he fell back so far. There was two picks of U of L receivers before him. So they definitely had some good picks there.
But Dez didn't play at all last year. Tutu didn't really play at all last year. Mm-hmm. But Tutu, like I said, everything. I think he might have got injured, but everyone's saying Tutu is someone that they're going to use a lot. So
in the 49ers, I think with Debo coming back, that helps them. George Kittle's always a plus factor. And, and I think it's definitely going to be a big challenge for them with the quarterback position to see what they really do. And, and I think this is kind of Shanahan's last season of, okay, I'm going to be over the hump. I think Shanahan will have a job in the NFL forever. He'll have another head coach job. But I think of the 49ers, it's like him and John Lynch, this has got to be the fucking year. They keep having all these hype promises and they're not executing on it, or they're falling short. And then, it's an interesting, I think it's really an interesting division. So let's go, let's see. I'll let you pick
Bengals.
Let's do the Bengals. You want to do that?
Right,
okay.
So AFC.
Ooh, AFC North. Yeah. So we run the North right now, but I will go. Ooh, I actually just predicted this the other day for another fantasy group, just in a group text. I think it's going to be Bengals. I think it's going to be. It's shocking, but I really do think the Browns can be second. I really do believe the Steelers will be third, and I believe fourth place is going to be the Ravens. And the reason I say that is this. The reason I say the Ravens finish last, I think Lamar's explosive. I don't think that offense is working. I think that Cleveland, I'm sorry, I think Jacoby Brissett can handle an offense, especially with Deshaun out. If Deshaun is out for the full season, I still think Nick Chubb puts over 1,600 yards. Then you got freaking Pittsburgh. Yeah, I don't like Pittsburgh's quarterbacks. I think the whole quarterback room, fucking throw them out. But at the end of the day, I love what Pickens, this rookie wide receiver, is doing. I love what they're just having Najee Harris come back. But the Bengals, baby, they just run it. I got to hear your four. What's your
I'm
four?
going Bengals, Ravens. I don't like Cleveland. They're probably still over the Steelers, but I'm not making them that much over the Steelers. Bengals, they shored up their offensive line. They got Kappa from Tampa Bay. They got Lil Collins from Dallas, and they got I can't think of his name he's the lineman from New England. Mm-hmm. And they're three very quality starters, better than who they had. Joe Burrow, that's the last thing that he really needed was that offensive line to protect him. He's got three bona fide 1,000-yard receivers.
Oh, it's the perfect offense. You got Joe Mixon, all-pro running back. You got Joe Burrow, future, probably Hall of Fame quarterback, just the way he is this young. And like you said, Jamar Chase, Higgins, Boyd.
Higgins has been
all these players.
Was 1,000 last year and 800-900 as a rookie. So he's going to get those numbers. Chase is the next one of those superstar
Randy
receivers.
Moss.
He's the next superstar receiver. Because there's always ones that people have. Like, okay, I'm a Chargers, obviously. Keenan Allen I love, but he gets his numbers. He's consistent. He's a good route runner. He's good. He's not somebody to me that takes over a game, like you just said, Randy Moss. Jamar Chase is jumping into that, what I think Justin Jefferson and Devontae Adams and DeAndre Hopkins sort of level. Mm-hmm. Everyone can have their number one receivers, but he is a superstar receiver that I think, he was incredible last year. So I like them a lot.
Yeah, and as a diehard Cincinnati Bengals fan, I am a homer, but I will say I do think the Bengals run the next decade. I think they run that division. I don't think anyone can top us. I'm not afraid of the Steelers. I'm not afraid of anybody because we are building. We're finally taking this shit serious. There's a new stadium name. Zach's definitely proven himself. That huge Super Bowl run was huge last year. So much fun.
It's going to be more professional. It's going to be more professional around the locker room because they know what they're doing. They know what they want to achieve. They know how to achieve it. So I had Ravens second, and I think it's because Lamar wasn't healthy last year, but he's too good on the run. He makes too many things happen on the run. I think he's better deep ball than he is when he passes at 10 yards. It's at the person's feet, they're having to make a diving catch. He's not that accurate short, but I think he's good enough to get the ball deep. I think Rashad Bateman, he only got to play half a season last year. I think he'll jump up to that decent number one wide receiver for him. There's not a ton besides him and Mark Andrews.
And Mark Andrews went over 1,000 yards.
Yeah, he was 5th or 6th in yards for a tight end.
He's diabetic too, which is
any running back really they put in since Lamar's been there has put up numbers. So getting Dobbins back, even if he's not 100%, still having some of the backups that played last year for him. No matter who they put in, the running back is able to get yards because of the threat Lamar is. So I still like that, and their defense. One of the best picks in the draft was that safety out of Notre Dame they drafted. He's going to be able to, a Derwin James type that can just change your entire defense, lets the defense ends get pressure on the quarterback. He's going to get a good handful of interceptions. Their defense is always good with Harbaugh.
He's like an Ed Reed almost.
Yeah. So I think their defense will keep, they're going to have a lot of close games. Lamar's going to have to win some games late, but they're definitely second to me. And the reason I don't like Cleveland is I do think the quarterback situation is such a distraction, and that doesn't go away. That's going to be there all year. For the first 8 games, Jacoby's going to constantly think, am I playing good enough that I can carry the reins? Or am I going to get benched the second he comes back, even if he's not ready? Or, look at how much money he was given that's just 100% guaranteed. Other players are going to look at that, and if he's not coming in and busting his ass every week, they're not going to put up with that. And I just don't like Cleveland nearly as much as everyone else does. They have, Hunt's already wanting a trade. So, yes, Chubb's great, but Chubb's gotten hurt a couple times, and Hunt's always stepped in good. And then Fourth place, Steelers. I actually think, Pickett looked great in his preseason game. I've said to other Steelers fans that I know this year, I think Trubisky can come in and actually play pretty good. He showed that he's mobile in Chicago, but Chicago's never had weapons for him whatsoever. He's going to have a good defense because Tomlin always has a good defense. And Deontay Johnson is a pretty damn good number one. Pickens looks like he could be a really good rookie. That Fearmouth, the tight end,
I like him.
looked really good last year.
He was good last year. Yeah.
Najee can easily end up being the next McCaffrey, Barkley. Like obviously Barkley hasn't been that great last few years, but that type of player where he's getting 600 receiving yards, 1,200 rushing yards, 20 touchdown type of player.
He can't do I don't think what Debo Samuel can do. I know it's a different position. I don't think they can do the number one, but I do believe that he can rush. But I do think, I think he's definitely going to be catching the ball. But like you said, I think it all depends on
which starting
quarterback goes.
And Trubisky was at Buffalo for a year or 2 years, and just learning that culture that Buffalo's built. Having an offensive guy like Eric Dable in his meeting rooms every week with Josh Allen, who's been one of the best young quarterbacks you could have ever seen. I think Trubisky is going to be a little bit humbled. He's going to have this chance to come in and continue the Steeler legacy. And as far as the fantasy stuff goes, Najee Harris, top 3 running back. I mean, it's McCaffrey, him, and if I'm forgetting somebody, Derrick Henry, those types, because not another player on Steelers last year had over 100 yards rushing.
Yeah.
They get their guy, and they run him. They're not trying to fill, got to get this guy in there 5 times a game. Got to get this guy. No. Najee Harris, he's going to be our go-to. They've always sort of been like that. Le'Veon Bell carried it 20, 30 times a game.
D'Angelo that they had, Williams, he literally would only come in because of injuries. And that's why he was on there for so long, so he just would get –
Look at his production. Le'Veon Bell was hurt or suspended the first 3 or 4 games of the season D'Angelo was there. D'Angelo puts up crazy good numbers the first 3 games of the season. I mean, he was a fantasy.
He was exploding.
Darling. Le'Veon comes back, one carry a game maybe.
Yeah, he barely carried it. Yeah.
Just went. They get their guy. They want him in there the whole game. That's who they trust.
Because D'Angelo was the guy in Carolina there for a while, and just and I thought, man, maybe Pittsburgh can actually, do something, possibly with that weapon, having him as a backup. But and then Le'Veon, man, what it is to decline in a career. But that's that. I feel like I like your take on those 4.
So I like Pittsburgh as surprised to be better than Cleveland.
Let's go a little bit more north, get a little bit more chillier. Let's hit at that NFC North. We got Detroit, Green Bay, Chicago, Minnesota. I'm going to actually, this probably be one of my hot takes.
Don't do it. I already know what you're going to do.
I'm going to be honest with you.
Real quick before you say it. Real quick, let me guess. 2 things that you must know about Eric is Matt Stafford will be on his fantasy team. And for some reason, he really likes Detroit.
I do. They're my backup. I'm a diehard Bengals fan. Who they? But Detroit is always my backup squad. I had a bunch of friends up in the D, played fantasy with some people in that. So Detroit's just always had a little place in my heart. It's been I loved watching Stafford's career, and there's that underdog. But this Hard Knocks, I'm 2 episodes in, and I'm gonna be honest. I'm a believer. O&D is what Dan Campbell says, and they eat kneecaps. So I'm going to be honest. I think this is the weakest division in the NFL. I do not like Aaron Rodgers this year. I think he's overhyped, and I don't think he has the weapons. And I don't like Minnesota, and I don't like Chicago. So I'm actually going to do a hot take. I think it's Detroit, number 1. They win the fucking division. Jared Goff, NFL Comeback Player of the Year. I say and I think St. Brown, I think he goes all pro. But it all depends on Swift. Swift has to be a producer. He can't do the bullshit that I've already seen him do on Hard Knocks. And he can explode and do it, but he's got to realize he's a weapon. He's got to go inside. He can't keep going outside. The thing with, I'll say second place, I'm going to go Minnesota. I think they have the talent. I think Kirk Cousins is a veteran quarterback. I do think he sucks, but I do think he also knows how he's consistent. He knows how to win a ball game. He'll at least keep them 500. I think third place is Green Bay. Of course, you have Aaron Rodgers, 2-time MVP. The guy's got talent. He's going to try to score. He's going to find ways, but they don't have the talent. I don't think they're building. I think he's checked out. He can say he's tuned in. I've heard him do interviews. I think he's all over the place. And then I think fourth is the Bears. I still think that they do not care about Chicago, and I do not think that the franchise, they're not caring about this team. They're not building with this team, and the decision making, it just gets poorer and poorer. And you're in one of the biggest cities in not just the country, the entire world. You would think the Bears could get better product on the field. So that's my four. What about you?
Their fans are stuck in the 80s.
Yeah.
And so I actually heard Colin Cowherd make one of the best takes today is name a star wide receiver they've had. They just don't. Even they had Alshon Jeffrey, he leaves. I mean, they never have star receivers. They don't care about offense. Roquan Smith wants to either get an extension, a huge extension, or be traded. They'll end up giving him money. And middle linebackers, they're just not worth how much if you're overpaying for someone like that. I do think Chicago's last place. The only person I really even would look at for fantasy is Montgomery and late Darnell Mooney. Everyone keeps, like, last 2 years, I feel like everyone's jumping on this Cole Kmet, the tight end, and he really hasn't done anything.
He's done nothing. And I think Mooney is good, though. I'll give him credit.
He has no one else there.
Yeah.
No one else on that team. I like Vikings in first. Cousins is just that consistent, not flashy at all. You can hand it off to Dalvin 25, 30 times a game. Jefferson's a big time wide receiver like that. And Irv Smith is very athletic for those tight end positions. So he can easily be a 700-yard, 800-yard tight end. They have a brand new coach, but he's an offensive coach. Like I said, came from the Rams. So he's going to bring that philosophy, the whole McVay tree philosophy type thing. So I think they're number one. Green Bay, I still put it 2, but you're right. They have no wide receiver weapons. Lazard put up 800, but he put up 800 receiving yards off of just being open because Devontae was there. He is, to me, Lazard is not a number one receiver. They drafted in the first round a receiver, and I think he might be hurt right now. Their tight end was hurt all last year, Tanyan.
Did they draft 2 receivers?
They might have drafted one in the second or third round.
Yeah, they're going to let them compete.
Is it the Romeo Dobbs or something like that?
Yeah, they were like this.
They're really hyped on him. They're really hyped on him coming into the season. Yeah. But I just don't think they have. Rodgers came out yesterday and said the receivers got to start catching the ball. They got to start being where they're supposed to be. The receivers really got to step it up. Receivers don't want to hear that. And I get Rodgers has the pull, but he almost has the opposite of the pull that like a Brady or now Mahomes or someone like that has. Whereas they're respected so they can say those things. Rodgers has completely killed his reputation around the league to where I don't think receivers jump because he says jump. They're going to take it as like, you do your job, I do mine. They have 2 great running backs. I have no clue. Like, everyone thinks Dillon can take over for Jones, but Jones has been so good the last 3 or 4 years that I don't see how you take Jones after Dillon. But Dillon, I mean, he looked really good last year.
Well, how desperate do you think Green Bay gets to a point where if it's week 8, they're just not – it's just not cutting it offensively, and Aaron Rodgers is getting ridiculed. You know he's going to get ridiculed all over radio, TV if he's playing bad, even if he doesn't have a supporting cast. Do you think it gets to a point where Green Bay's like, fuck it, we got to sign somebody big, or we got to do a massive blowout trade?
I don't think it could get to that point, but the best scenario that could happen with, and I don't know if they would do it, there was rumors that he really liked him, all that stuff. I think the best scenario would be Pittsburgh's hanging in there, but the quarterback isn't playing that great. And you trade Rodgers for like a Kenny Pickett and some draft picks, and Rodgers goes in there and can easily compete in that division by like weeks. If there was a crazy trade scenario, Pittsburgh's the only team to me that is relevant enough for Rodgers to go to.
Tomlin and him love each other.
Yeah. So, I mean, Seattle's not trading for him because the rest of their team isn't that great. Teams like that you have to be in it if you're going to actually give away assets for Rodgers. But that's just crazy scenario-wise. Rodgers also, everyone gives it like, oh, he throws no interceptions. He throws no interceptions because he throws the ball away, and he doesn't take those risks. And to me, if they're going to actually be a Super Bowl contender again, he has to take risks. He is scared to death of taking risks. They had one of the best offenses in the league last year with Devontae Adams, and it's a 10-10 ball game to San Francisco in the playoffs. Like, he has to rip it, actually go over and take over a game, and I don't think he necessarily does that. He puts up the numbers, but he's too safe. Detroit, as far as their offense goes, I think the X factor for that offense and the sky's the limit for their offense is Jamison Williams. He is a speedster from Alabama, rookie. He's injured right now, but he's already started practicing again. He, to me, is a Tyreek Hill type of wide receiver. He took over the college championship game or playoff game or whatever. He's the type of wide receiver that he can come in and just light it up and change that entire offense.
Oh, 100%.
So I really like him if he's healthy. Outside of that, I mean, Goff's okay. He's gotten to a Super Bowl, so he knows what he's doing. He's going to come in every day, work hard, professional. He was traded, and it didn't seem to like kill his ego. He just went to work, and that coach, like you said, the Hard Knocks, that coach has those players motivated.
And he's got a chip on his shoulder.
Yeah, they love that coach. I mean, he stepped in for Dolphins when they released their coach like 3 or 4 years ago. So, like, he has that little bit of head coaching experience. And they just seem like you said, you watch Hard Knocks, that team will run through a wall for their coach. So.
Oh, yeah. I love Dan Campbell, his energy. I mean, he's the way a coach should be. I mean, that's, a lot of these coaches are dumbasses with their approach. He knows, even if he's not winning, he just knows how to not only make you a better football player, make you a better man. I'm hoping the results show on the field and Detroit can have somewhat of a success. So got a few more divisions to go. Let's hit up that South there. Let's go to Carolina, Atlanta, Tampa Bay, New Orleans. And I'm going to say, what a weird division, in my opinion. And I'm going to say, too, that's another very weak division, in my opinion. I'm going to go, first off the bat, I'm going to say New Orleans. And I think the only way they can do it, first place, is if Jameis produces and they off-the-field distractions stay away. I've been watching some of their training camp. Been watching some of their videos. I feel like they're tuned in. I think second place goes to Tampa Bay. You got Brady. He's a leader. But I don't think Tampa Bay's got it all this year. I think with Gronk stepping away with the huge injury to his center, I've heard that Brady's having family medical distractions. I've heard that Brady really wanted that Miami deal to go down. I don't think he's tuned in. And supposedly, rumor has he told a couple reporters he don't like the swampy weather right now during the beginning. So I just don't think he's happy. They say that he's kind of tuned out. So I think Tampa could be second. I think third is going to fall to Carolina. And then I think fourth goes to Atlanta. Now, people are probably like, wow, you put Atlanta fourth, but you want to put Detroit first in the NFC North, and they just lost the preseason. I get that. It's preseason, but it's nothing. And there's so much rotation of talent. The third-string quarterback for Detroit sucks. So at the end of the day, I still think Atlanta falls into that fourth place. I think Mariota can do well. I definitely can see he can still run. But he's got to hit Kyle Pitts. That defense for Atlanta is dog shit. They got to step it up. Ridley. They don't have Calvin Ridley. These weapons, a lot of them are – it's like gambles on the offense when the ball's thrown in the air. I mean, I'm seeing – it just there was a lot of missed coverage, third string defense. So it was obvious how Atlanta really pulled that off. And I don't like the running game. But I really do think New Orleans, I think Jameis is somewhat of a leader. He's got to stay healthy with that fucking foot, knee. He's got to quit getting hurt. Kamara, all these people got to stay focused. Hopefully they get other people back. But I just find Tampa just not making that jump. I really predict Tampa's a 500 team. And people are like, oh, it's Tom Brady. Tom Brady. I know he'll get it done somehow. He'll figure out to be relevant some way, but they just don't have it this year. And Carolina is a fucking crapshoot. And Baker's a beast when it comes to like kind of telling people, shut the fuck up. I'm going to show you. But I don't think he can do it in Carolina. And I don't think that chemistry's there. I really do think that Robbie Anderson talking shit and those people saying stuff's in his head. What's your thoughts on this division?
Tampa 1, Saints 2, Carolina 3, and Atlanta 4. Tampa, I disagree. To me, depth-wise might have the best 4 wide receiver depth chart in the NFL. They brought in.
I like Mike Evans.
Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Godwin's got to come back from injury, but he's always been productive. He's professional. He's never been an off-field issue, so I think he'll recover and get back to where he was. They signed, before they even signed Julio Jones, they signed Russell Gage, who was like 700-800 yards for Atlanta last year. Always fit into that perfect third wide receiver role. And you bring in Julio, and I don't care how old he is, Julio can still give you a big play here and there.
Oh yeah,
he had Tannehill
throw
into him.
Different quarterback.
And they're very much. I mean, obviously Derrick Henry got hurt, but
I think Brady got robbed of the MVP last year. I think Brady put up the numbers, but for some reason, I just think there's a fallback somehow. I know the receivers there, but with that injury and just with with Gronk, I don't know.
I'll say this also though, tight end position. Cameron Brate has been a backup his whole time in Tampa and still gets 4 or 5 touchdowns, 400 or 500 yards. Like, he's like the most unknown, pretty consistent tight end because they always have someone in front of them. They have no one in front of them now. When it's been Gronk the last 2 years, 3 years. Before that, it was this big draft pick, O.J. Howard, and he was always hurt.
Where is O.J. Howard now?
Either Detroit or Jets. Maybe I can't.
He had a lot of talent. I thought.
He was very athletic, and he was going to be one of those legit like athletic tight ends that you can throw the ball to, but wasn't blocker necessarily and whatnot. But so Brate can step right in. He's not Gronk at all, but he's been a super consistent player when he's on the field for Tampa Bay, and that's before they had Brady. He's been there when Jameis was there, probably a little bit before Jameis. Like, he's been a very consistent tight end when he's on the field. Running back wise, I think Leonard Fournette completely rejuvenated his career last year. Was a damn good receiving running back.
Do you think he'll be explosive this year?
Yes. I mean, he was a great receiving running back last year. Runs the ball great. Behind him is a rookie running back, so I don't think anyone's really challenging him for that spot. Losing Jensen is bad, but Brady's the smartest quarterback out there, so he'll be able to adjust some.
O.J. Howard actually is now with the Bills.
Okay.
Yes.
I was up in that area. Detroit,
and I think he'll get results, especially with Josh Allen at quarterback. I do like your take on Tampa. Like I said, I could be completely wrong. I don't know, just kind of my opinion just with what I've seen and heard. But I do believe that, I think it's New Orleans or Tampa in that mix.
So Saints, Michael Thomas come back from injury. I don't think you just go, oh, well, he's no good no more. He was injured last year. He can easily go back to where he was.
Because people don't really know what he is capable of.
Number 2 wide receiver is Jarvis Landry. And to me, that's the position he was in. Odell missed some games with Cleveland and all of the head games with him and Baker and all that sort of stuff. That made Jarvis almost have to be a number 1 receiver. And I think he's way better as a number 2.
I think it's huge that they got Andy Dalton at backup because Andy Dalton can win games if Jameis goes out. I mean, he can.
I don't know. I don't like Dalton anymore. He was horrible with the Dallas.
But I think he can win games in this division if an injury happens. I think.
One of the.
What about Matthew? You like him being added, Tyrann?
I mean, defense-wise, I mean, they have a decent defense with
Daniel Sorensen from Kansas City
Safety,
too. Yeah. Jarvis Landry's awesome.
But their third wide receiver, rookie Chris Olave, he's one of those guys. Okay, in fantasy, when I was talking earlier about late picks, my bench guys, I like to get rookies and guys that have that potential, that have a higher ceiling. He might come in week one, only play 10 snaps, doesn't look like he has a role. And by week 3, he's made 2 or 3 giant plays, and now he's the legit number 1 receiver for that team.
He's like Jamar Chase.
Yes, he is so good and showed so much at Ohio State. He's the type of guy that might not get drafted till really late, but I'm taking him over a 700-yard guy that has an okay role or whatever. Like, I like those rookies because, like I said, he can come in right at week 2, week 3, and almost take over. You still have Kamara. I believe Ingram might be back there as their backup. I'm not 100% sure. He might have signed with them. Winston, he's shown he can throw it all over the field. Maybe his decision making is better than it was in Tampa. So who knows? But he can throw the ball. So Carolina, if they let Baker just go out and play and trust them, they can be a good team. They have
for sure.
DJ Moore, wide receiver, Robbie Anderson, wide receiver.
Mark Ingram is with the New Orleans Saints.
And McCaffrey stays healthy. I mean, there's no other running back better in the league if he's
I
healthy.
like Robbie Anderson's game if they can be connected. If they can, he's always, even since the Jets, I thought he was great.
And so, but okay, so go back to Cleveland with Baker last year. They were playing Chargers, and Baker's been in this league 4 years now, 5 years maybe. This is Herbert's second year last year, and it's down to the wire. And our coach trusts Herbert so much that they're throwing it on 4th down.
I like that, though. I'll be honest, I like that game.
It's tie ball game, or we're up at this point maybe. It went to overtime maybe. I can't remember. Baker, it's 3rd and 8 or 9. You have to throw on this down. They run the ball. They did not trust him to do anything. If Carolina can let him play, trust him to make the plays, he could surprise some people. But
and he's kind of quick. And he's a little bit quick. Yeah, it's ifs. It's what if. And I'm not a big fan of Carolina's coach. I think he's great at Baylor. I think he's more of a college coach. But I see Carolina kind of falling back in that 3rd, and I just think injuries have always haunted that team. And but yeah, I think that is a weaker division in my opinion this year. Let's go to
wait, one last thing. Atlanta.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so Mariota, this is his chance at a revival. Who knows if he does it, but it's his chance. Sort of like Tannehill had. Tannehill, Miami didn't think he was that great. He goes to Titans, backs up Mariota, and then week 6, week 7, week 8, they're like, all right, let's switch Tannehill. And he's 3 years now starter. So Mariota, this is his one chance to me to go and prove that he can be a starter. I don't know if he will or not. He can run the ball real well. All the spot plays that he came in for the Raiders last year, he was decent. But that Desmond Ridder from Cincinnati, from St. X, I think, he looked really good in preseason. And preseason doesn't mean everything, but a lot of times if you just see it and you see the way they are, I said it about Russell Wilson his rookie year. They signed Matt Flynn to a decent contract. He's supposed to be the number 1 quarterback going into camp, and Russell Wilson picked 2nd, 3rd round, comes in preseason, and I told everybody I could, Russell Wilson's going to start for that team. And he came in and just steals the start job. Desmond Ridder looked really good in preseason, so I could easily see him getting starts at some point.
I agree.
And
I agree because he is really good. He's great, and he's great scrambling too.
And going back, we were talking about roles or pass production for fantasy value. A lot of people are taking someone like Isaiah Spiller earlier than this guy, I'm going to say, because they just think he's a better running back. He's a rookie guy that he's going to be Chargers backup. But to me, Eckler is sort of a workhorse, catches it, runs it, all that stuff. Spiller might be better than the guy I'm about to name, but he does not have the potential unless Eckler gets hurt. And I'm not just betting on
Because
a draft pick.
Eckler will put over 1,000 all-purpose yards easy.
Oh, he'll be like 1,600 all-purpose. He had 20 touchdowns last year, which was second.
Big numbers.
You're banking if you draft a Spiller late, you're banking on Eckler getting hurt, and I just don't like doing that. I don't know his first name. Algar, something like that. He's a running back for Atlanta, rookie. I liked what Cordell Patterson did last year, but no other running back stepped up and did anything. They didn't really add anyone else. Aguilar is the type of person that's not going to come in day one and be the starter.
Oh, you're saying Tyler Algier,
who
was drafted in the
I'll take
round.
him later over some of these guys that might be more talented because
fifth round back.
He actually has the potential to start, and to me, it's that role. He can be a starting running back for them just off of.
But they added Damian Williams.
Yeah, he's always been backup also. So to me, there's a way easier path for Tyler what is it?
It is Algier.
All right, Tyler Algier. There's a way better path for him to be a starter by week 5 or 6 than there is for some of these. Oh, I'm going to get McCaffrey's back up. I'm going to go get Mattinson for the Vikings because he's always played good when Dalvin got hurt. I'm going to go get those backups that have shown they can be good. They don't have a role if they're starters.
But they did have a couple keys that I have noticed with Atlanta now that we're talking about them. Even though that's how much I love football. I'll talk about the last place team for an hour. I still think they finished last, but Casey Hayward, that's a huge pickup cornerback. You got wide receiver Brian Edwards, that's some production there. Lorenzo Carter at linebacker. That's some good picks. They definitely had some huge losses.
AJ Terrell's turned into like
Davis,
a top 3 or 4 cornerback in the league.
Drake London. That was a huge pick.
But he might be hurt, but it's nothing that's going to keep him out too long. But that's the type of guy. Like next year could be a year for Atlanta. If you have a second-year Desmond Ridder, Calvin Ridley comes back and wants to prove that he can still play after being out for an entire season. It's bullshit. He's out for a whole season.
Oh, yeah.
He gave him like $1,500, I think it was. You have a second-year Drake London next year. You have Kyle Pitts, who at that point can just be a freak tight end in the league. Like, they could do something in the next couple of years. I like what they're building, but right now, they're the bottom feeder of that division right now.
And then you look at the AFC South. Okay, so shout out to Eddie Rice, our mutual friend. We love Eddie. He's a dire Jacksonville Jaguars fan. We are still, shocked by that. But they're kind of rough. So let's talk about this AFC South. Now, I'm going to say my 4 with the AFC South. I'm saying Indianapolis comes out first. I love the Matt Ryan pickup. He's a fucking legend. He's going to do big things in Indy. I think he's disciplined. I think he's tough. I think Jonathan Taylor, running back. I think the wide receivers. And I love the defense. I think Indy, if they can really stay focused and continue, winning big games, Indy's going to do big things. I think our second place with that division, I'm going to say Tennessee. I love Derrick Henry. I don't think Tannehill's it. I think that Tennessee definitely lost some key pieces on offense. You got Brown going to the Philadelphia Eagles. And then I think third place, I'm actually going to go with Houston Texans. I think I hate the Texans. I hate the Jags. I think both teams are dog shit, but I think Houston does have somewhat of a leader in that quarterback. And, I'm looking at them right now. They added Marlon Mack, again, not huge pieces, but, Steven Nelson, MJ Stewart, those are some names. Derek Stingley Jr., huge rookie.
Florida running back is going to be their starter at some point.
Oh, yeah, Damian Pierce. And then you got Kenyon Green. That was a huge piece on the line. So I think their first round was really key in the NFL draft, and I do think they will fall third, but I think they're going to still be shitty. Jags, dog shit, not a believer in Trevor Lawrence. Don't like them. Saw him in that Hall of Fame game. Just not a fan. I don't think they have it together. I know they have a new coach. I do know he's a winner. I know he's won a Super Bowl, but I am just not a fan of the Jags, and I think they fall last place again. What is your take on that division?
I would go Colts. I'm going Jags 2, Tennessee 3, and Houston 4. Wow. And any of those three at the top could be switched. But I'll put it in order: Colts, Jags, Tennessee.
Why Titans with such a decline?
Because lose AJ Brown.
Yes.
Tannehill is going to be looking over his shoulder this whole time. He already took them drafting a quarterback a little bad when they said, like, "Are you going to help him study? Are you going to help him?" And he was sort of like, "I'm not here to do that.
He was
I'm
selfish."
Here. And I think that's going to be that looking on my shoulder. At any point in time, they can go, well, even if Tannehill throws it better, Malik's going to come in and bring that athleticism that can make plays happen. I mean, they don't have a wide receiver to me. They drafted Treylon Burks, but
did you like Malik in the preseason game so far?
I didn't watch that preseason game, but everyone said he was all right. But
throw a pretty good ball.
But Treylon Burks can't just step in and be the number one guy. Derrick Henry can still carry that team, but he was hurt last year, and I just don't think there's much there. You can load the box and try to stop Derrick Henry, but I just don't think they have anyone to throw to.
Well, what about so let me ask you this.
I think they got Hooper.
But only 3 additions really. Robert Woods, Austin Hooper, and Jamarco Jones. All 3 huge pieces, but I don't think they replace AJ Brown and Julio Jones, and I don't think they replace Berkshire, their other tight end. And then Deontay Freeman, crazy he's still in the league. He wasn't even relevant.
Donta Freeman.
Oh, Donta. Yeah, it was actually. Yeah. Okay. My bad. Yeah. So, and then David Questenberry, the other lineman, lost him. That's a key piece. I think Treylon Burks will be huge for Tennessee.
He'll put up numbers, but I just don't see him as a legit threat number one. Like I said, that you're throwing the ball up to. He'll get it off of necessity, I guess, and roll. He'll actually be a good wide receiver, but
and Robert Woods got to stay healthy.
Yeah, he was hurt last year. He's productive when he's there.
Okay, so
Colts first.
Let's talk about the Colts. That's what I was about to ask you. What is your thoughts on Matt Ryan?
Matt Ryan's really good. He's, like I said, I've used the word a bunch already, but he's professional, comes in, does a job. My only problem is Pittman's the only guy to throw to, besides Jonathan Taylor, who catches the ball really well. But they don't have other receivers that are really jump off the page. They don't have. I think the last couple of years it's been Mo Alley Cox and a couple other tight ends stepping in there and not being great. I just don't like the production at wide receiver. I don't think they have a lot of people to throw to at all.
I think, and I think it was interesting. Their first pick in the draft was a receiver, which was smart. But you made perfect sense with that.
Is it Pierce?
Yes, and he's round 2, so he's not even going to be a relevant piece for this year's offense. And then you pick up Nick Foles, you pick up Matt Ryan, you now have a great quarterback room. You definitely, they've improved their defense tremendously. And Philip Lindsay was a great back in Denver. I think he can produce here, but Jonathan Taylor's going to get those
He's going to get it. They actually recently, they said something about the coach said, we're going to have to get Jonathan Taylor some rest because we can't rely on just him. And it's like, I get that.
He's a power back right
He
now.
is so good all around, catching, running. You have to play him the whole season or you're not – you want to save him some of the playoffs, but does Derrick Henry need to be saved for the playoffs? McCaffrey's been hurt and stuff, but when they've been at their best, McCaffrey's just 30 touches.
And then you have to really ask the player what they really want. This is a business. NFL players can go anywhere the fuck they want when they're free agents. They're making money. They're making millions. They are over top coaches, franchise. They're really the key pieces to this business. So if you have a player that's expecting to put up in his mind 2,000 yards and he knows he's capable of it, but you're holding him back, why is he going to stay in Indy? Yeah. Why would he even stay with that franchise? He's gone.
An interesting stat, only 2 other guys, now him, so he's the third, have had over 32 touchdowns in their first 2 seasons.
Oh, that's a power back all day.
Eric Dickerson, Colts, Edgerrin James, Colts, and now Jonathan Taylor. So,
and Edgerrin James, Hall of Famer.
Yeah, but if you got a guy like that, you have to play him. You can't hold him back, like you said.
Yeah, there's no restraint anymore. I mean, because it's like we know the running back, like Todd Gurley, these different players, the running back, there's not a huge tenure with it. Injuries happen, quickness and decline. And so a division that I want to talk about next, and since we were talking about running backs, that I think is just going to be a surprise huge hit is Michael Carter with the New York Jets. I think he's going to be a top 5 best NFL back in like 3 years. I think he was explosive. I think he can do it. They got to surround him definitely with help. When we get to that division, the AFC East, this is how I'm seeing it play out. I'm seeing Buffalo 1. I'm seeing Miami 2. I'm actually going to say the Jets 3 since that Zach Wilson injury wasn't as serious. And then I'm going to say 4 the Patriots. And the reason why, Patriots did stupid shit off season. They're not the same. They can't do what they did. Mac Jones is great, but that's not how you're going to win ball games.
The coaching carousel they have right now is ridiculous.
It's a nightmare
with New England.
Yeah, nobody knows who they are.
Defensive coordinator calling plays, and it just, I think Belichick's almost trying to be too smart for his own good, but he's proven it right.
Well, I think he is so self-sabotaging himself because also their spending is so dumb. They're spending so much money on so many irrelevant wide receivers. They're like 37 million over, like 77 million was like their cap. Like other teams are spending like, I think it was like 40, however they do the math with all that. It's just, I do not see these decisions in the offseason they're making, and they're not giving Mac Jones any weapons. So I'm saying the Patriots are 4th. The reason that I'm going with the Jets 3rd, I think they're shitty. I do think they have pieces. The injuries that already happened is not good. Zach Wilson even getting hurt in preseason is just not good. And then Joe Flacco still thinking he's relevant. That's great to have that confidence. So I think Michael Carter really carries that team, and I think that that coach is really going to have to keep stepping up that defense if he's such a guru. Yeah. And then Miami with Tyreek, love that addition.
Waddle
are huge, but I don't think Tua is it. I'm not a fan of Tua. I think Tua will be out of the league in 5 years or less.
You think Teddy starts at some point?
I do think Teddy starts at some point, and I think Miami is going to have to realize we got to get this shit together. We got a great coach, an offensive coach, a guy who literally turned around Deebo Samuel's career, made him a fucking multimillionaire times a fucking quadrillion, and then you got fucking 2 weapons.
You have 2 guys that can go and do what Deebo did in Waddle and Tyreek.
Exactly.
Run them out, do sweeps, and get them the ball.
They have to have a quarterback, or that whole plan is going to self-sabotage. And I think their running game's not great, but I love Xavier Howard. I think he's great. I think he can lead the lead in interceptions again, like he did 2 seasons ago. But Buffalo Bills are going to run that division. Yeah. They're winning. They already know. They don't even have to worry about New England, who they feared for like 20 years. And I think they realize, fuck, Miami's talented as shit. We're scared, but they got fucking Tua.
This is their year.
Yeah.
Same thing I said about Herbert. Allen's still on that contract, so
he's tough. Josh Allen's tough, and he's been doing it since Wyoming, and his story is incredible. I do think he should have won more games. I think he could have won more playoff, but like you said, I think it's time. And we can say that about Herbert, we say that about Burrow, we say about everybody. I mean, Burrow, of course, won the Super Bowl. That was awesome.
But they did lose their offense coordinator, but they've had him long enough for whoever did step in. I don't know who their offense coordinator is now, but whoever steps in can sort of say, like, Josh, you know how to run this team. What plays you like? What do you want to do? Diggs, I think he's been a true professional receiver, not a diva receiver his whole time, even when in Minnesota and now here. So he's always legit. And
because Herbert, Burrow, and Josh Allen, those are the 3 guys that, I know Burrow went to the Super Bowl. That was fun, but he lost. Those 3 guys, we as fans look at it like they should have some titles. They should already be doing it because of the talent.
They should be up there.
Yeah, so I think it's time. I think time's coming. Yeah, they're ready.
So I go Buffalo. I go Miami. I might still go Patriots 3rd, but I don't think it's at all clear cut. think they are not going to be nearly as good. I think Belichick's trying to be a little bit too cute. You're right though. They went and spent, this is last offseason, but they went and spent way too much on a third, maybe on a good day, 2 wide receiver Kendrick Bourne from the Niners. They spent too much money on a third, fourth, maybe on a good day, 2 wide receiver in Nelson Aguilar. And then, like, this year, they trade for Devontae Parker, who's never lived up to his draft bill.
Devontae Parker had the worst separation in the NFL last year, stat-wise. Like, Pro Football Focus looked at it. Devontae Parker literally could not break away from a fucking defender, a corner, safety. He was that bad. And he also, for to be paid so much, he still hoops up at Seneca Park 10 minutes from my house. I'm like, dude, you're going to tear an ACL trying to dunk on a shitty rim against a bunch of random Louisville kids. So I just think Devontae, I thought the New England thing would actually revive his career because he was doing it in Miami, but wasn't doing it. And now I think he's just falling back.
And then they have, like, Jonnu. And, like, I think last offseason is really what killed him. Like, they signed Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry. And neither of them were, like, top tight ends.
Jonnu Smith, it's just because they lived up the hype from the Titans, and then Hunter Henry has been hyped up his whole career, and I think he did have some clutch plays at the goal line, but he ain't the fucking same. He's so old now. I mean, he's not old, but NFL age, just with injuries and body, he's older now. He's not the same.
At running back, I really like Ramonde Stevenson to take over for Damian Harris. Harrison's been okay, but he's never separated himself as some like star running back. Ramonde Stevenson can catch the ball better than Damian Harris. He played a ton towards the end of the year last year. I think he really early in the season establishes himself as the running back. I think, you don't necessarily trust Mac to throw the ball over the field, so either one of them can put up numbers this year running back wise. Jets at 4th. Or 3rd, like I said, I don't like either one of them or Patriots. Elijah Moore, I think, can be a speedster, legit wide receiver that puts up big numbers for them. I don't necessarily like Zach Wilson, but he was injured, so give him a little more time to get rhythm and whatnot. I'll say this. I really liked Michael Carter like you do.
Yeah.
I thought he would make a jump in year 2, but they traded up to get Breece Hall at running back. They traded up into the first or like real early second round. Traded other draft picks just to move up and get him.
You think that's going to hurt Michael Carter?
They're saying they wanted him from the jump in the draft. I think he takes over, and I think it's a shame because I do think Carter looked good as a rookie when he was given the chance. But wow. I think Breece Hall comes in, takes the job. They want him to take the job. And Carter turns into that secondary change of pace back. He already caught the ball really well last year. I think he had 300-400 yards receiving. So he's a good change of pace back. But I think they invested a draft pick moving up to get a running back. When you move up to get a running back, you wanted him specifically.
You have a purpose.
Yes. And so I think he's their guy. I think
Michael Carter, even if he left the Jets, he could be a star somewhere.
Yeah,
else. Like, I think 5 years, he's huge now.
Because I think he showed in flash potential.
Well, the Jets will learn.
When you have Zach Wilson, and you have Flacco started half those games, and you had Josh Johnson start a game or two, like it was just rotating door quarterbacks when Zach Wilson was out. I mean, they're just going to stack the box. They had only rookie receivers and no one else really. So Carter, for the production he did have, I think deserved to be a starter. But I really think they're in love with this Breece Hall, and I think he's going to take over.
And then we'll get to the last division. The NFC East, I think, is always the shittiest division every year. And I, of course, hate the Cowboys. But I'm going to say with this division, I do think there's a lot of key pieces added. I think the way this Final Four of this division lays out, I'm going to actually go. It's so shocking. I'm going to say this. I'm going to go. Well, it's actually really not just because of how these teams line up. Philadelphia, number 1.
They're not 1.
I'm going to go number 2, Dallas, even though I don't think they're good. I think their defense is overhyped, but I'm going to have to put on number 2. I think Daniel Jones has to prove himself, and the Giants coming to 3rd. I know Saquon's back. I know there's some, you got Galladay, but he looked terrible. He's got to definitely step it up to like his Lions days. But Daniel Jones, this is make it or break it for that guy. And then I think Redskins finish 4th. And the reason I say they're Commanders, excuse me, yes, the Washington Commanders, your dad's favorite team. The Washington Commanders. With
my dad's favorite team is the Redskins. He refuses to call them the Commanders.
Well,
but I know what you mean.
Yes, well, they're now the official Washington Commanders. It's an official fantasy football show, so it's the Commanders. And I'll say this. I just don't think Carson Wentz is it. I also love Scary Terry. I just don't ever like somebody going through a contract dispute before a season. And I'm not a huge fan of Washington. So I'm going to say they place 4th. And that's the way I see that division play out. And I still think Dallas could actually fall back to 3rd. But Philly is going to run that show, coach the offense. And it's their time to go. But they're not going to do dog shit in the playoffs.
I go Eagles 1. I'm going to go Commanders 2, Cowboys 3, and Giants 4. Eagles sort of like Jalen Hurts. I don't think it's the most talented quarterback, but he's so athletic. He's going to move you down the field some. He's going to put up productive numbers. He's going to be someone you have to start in fantasy if that's who you decide to draft. He's an every week guy, I think, because what he brings on the ground. Miles Sanders had a bad year last year. They've sort of rotated in Gainwell and Boston Scott and sort of Howard, but I don't think Howard's there anymore. But
Howard was good there for a while.
But Sanders, hopefully he can get back up because I thought he was a good, runs the ball 70, 80 yards, catches it 4 or 5 times for 40 yards.
He's tough.
He did a lot of different things his first 2 years. So I think he gets back to his production. You have A.J. Brown. You have Devontae Smith, who to me.
What about Zach Pascal? They had his name as well.
He's a good. Okay, he'll be able to be that 3rd guy, which Eagles haven't had.
James Bradbury. That's a huge add on cornerback. Yeah. Wow, that's big.
Really good. But Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown, that'll be a really good wide receiver duo. It's just if Jalen can get him the ball, because they showed in the playoffs multiple plays in the playoffs where Hurts has got 2 guys wide open, and he just jumps to the outside and starts running. He needs to be Lamar made that progression after year 1.5-ish, but early in his career. If the first guy wasn't there, it doesn't matter if anyone else is open, I'm running it. Jalen Hurts has to be able to look at 1, look at 2, look at 3, and then run it. He was running it after the first look.
I think a lot of futures are on the line in this division. The reason I say that is this. Jalen Hurts, he has to get over that hump this year. Daniel Jones, he's playing for his career. Carson Wentz, he's playing for his career. This is his last real shot. And then Dak Prescott, he's way overhyped. He's not that good. His contract's huge. He's got to step up and play.
They're not as good as wide receiver.
No, and they've lost so many pieces, even at offensive line. It's just really going to affect them. So when we get down the mix, we have now officially covered every NFL team for you. That's what we do at Bible Sleazy, me and Eric Bush. And so I think we had some great takes. We told you key players for fantasy. You got to hear how Eric likes to draft and look. You heard my takes. You heard the way we set up the division. So we're going to get to what everybody wants to hear. And that is the official Super Bowl matchup prediction and Super Bowl winner prediction. And fuck it, we're even going to do the score. So my special guest, Eric, give me your Super Bowl matchup for this year's Super Bowl and the winner. And then I want to hear that score, and I'll tell you mine.
I will begrudgingly go Bills, and in my fantasy world, I will go Chargers. And they will face – I'm going to go –
Wait, how's that pop? You said it's fantasy world.
In my fantasy world,
this is fantasy world. Okay.
But begrudgingly, I'm taking the Bills. I think the Bills, this is their sort of year. They've gotten into the playoffs. Josh Allen has been incredible. This is their year to sort of have that Super Bowl run. So I'm taking the Bills, hoping it's Chargers.
Yeah.
NFC, I'm going to go Tampa unless Stafford stays healthy with the Rams. If that arm stays healthy and it is just a pain management, I'd probably take Rams over them. But for now, I'll go Tampa Bay. So I'll go Buffalo versus Tampa Bay with Buffalo winning. And I'll go 33-27.
Ooh, okay. I have a prediction for you. So again, mine comes into play if Stafford's elbow is healthy. One man's elbow defines a year, but I think it's the LA Rams back at the Super Bowl. They have the weapons. They have Aaron Donald. They have Matthew Stafford. They have Coach McVay. The Rams are running the NFC. I don't see anyone even getting close. And then when I say the AFC, I don't give a fuck. Run it back. The Cincinnati Bengals are going to the Super Bowl. It's going to be Bengals-Rams, and I think this is the year that we get over the hump, and I'm saying 31-28 Cincinnati. We kick a field goal to win. The Florida boy that's up in Cincy, McPherson, we get him on top. We're holding him, and then next thing you know, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, Higgins have Pro Bowl, All-Pro years, and the Bengals win it. That's my prediction. And I swear to you, I'm serious. I think it's a Super Bowl. We run back, and people are not realizing it. Super Bowl slump, fuck you, we're back.
No way Bengals make it.
We're back. We are back. The offense is too powerful, and we have Bates for the rest of this year, hopefully, unless we do a trade. But I think the Cincinnati Bengals can do it. We just have to execute on defense. But I think we can make it. I really do. But we have to continue building. We can't make stupid decisions like we have done in the history. And I'm hoping, like you said, a key word, professionalism, is how we keep progressing and I think building. But I do believe, though, and not just saying it because you're my guest and a Chargers fan, I do think Herbert's got a shot to win a Super Bowl this year.
I legit, let me go on the Chargers. I legit think they have the potential. They, like I said, they signed Khalil Mack to be opposite Joey Bosa, who he's never had. They signed J.C. Jackson, who over his last 3 or 4 years has like 24 interceptions in the league. Is still in his prime at only like 26 years old. Derwin James does everything on defense. They're the only team in the NFL with 4 defensive players that make over $15 million because they're spending money on them. They have Mike Williams and Keenan Allen at wide receiver. They have Austin Eckler, do it all running back.
Sure.
They added Gerald Everett at tight end, who I think has always had the potential. And
he was huge for the Rams.
Yeah, but never he wasn't. He was the backup to Higbee, which I think he's better than Higbee. And last year was with Seattle. I actually wanted us free agency the year before. I said Chargers draft or sign him. And he signs with Seattle, and that was a mess with Russell getting hurt. I think Everett could jump into a top 5 or 6 tight end with his athleticism, with how great he is at getting down the field. We have a legit backup running back this year that we drafted in Isaiah Spiller. We have all-pro second-year play. I mean, all-pro is a rookie last year, Rashawn Slater on the offensive line, and drafted another offensive line that they have all said has not missed a beat, looked really good in preseason. Zion Johnson, we have all-pro center, Corey Lindsey. I think everything is aligned for this to be the type of year for the Chargers to actually get it done. I want to pick them. I probably should pick them. I'm just going to go easy and take the Bills, like I said. So.
Okay. Well, hey, I like your take. I like your take over the whole NFL year. I'm looking forward to playing fantasy football with you in 2 leagues this year. Shout out to Lopez for playing in her league as well. And I'm excited to do the pick 'em. So, Eric, I want to thank you for coming on the show. I want to thank you for always being a listener and a fan. You were the first person I thought of when I wanted to do a fantasy football episode. I think this has been needed. It's perfect timing. And the Bible with Sleezy, the podcast fans, this should get you ready for the football season and for you to make the right decisions and to be ready for fantasy football this year. So, Eric, give them any information, how they can reach out, email, Facebook, anything.
My email is too long to put on here. Sleezy will post this on Facebook. You can tag me on it. One thing I will say, because I'm always trying to get more people in this, is the confidence pick'em. If you love the NFL, if you love watching it, love keeping up with it, I've done a NFL pick'em for 10 plus years. It's on Yahoo. If you send Eric a message, he'll get you over to me. If he tags me in the Vibing with Sleezy, you can message me directly on Facebook. It's $25. That's one-time payment, $25 for the whole season. There's payouts for each week. Mm-hmm. There is a overall winner at the end of the year. It is fun.
It's addicting.
You pick every single game each week. You rank them on your confidence level, 16 all the way down to 1, and it is just fun. You have plenty of chances just to get close to your money back. I don't know how. I've had anywhere from 20 to 50 people in this. Mm-hmm. 50 people, I pay out 25 each week. So you have 18 chances to get your money back. Well, when it was only 20 last year, I think I paid out 15 each week, but it's still, you have 18 chances to get most of your money back. But it's fun. Everybody's always into it.
It's easy money too. Yeah.
It's easy. Don't be scared. Like I said, $25 isn't a lot for a whole season. So it's fun. Puts a little bit more on each game just to where you're following it. So anyone that wants to reach out, play, I'll be able to give you my Venmo, or you can get Eric money if you're close to him. Whatever it is, I'll make it work. So
yeah, we'll make it happen. And again, I want to shout Eric Bush. I'm ready for the NFL season. Babinwithsleazy@gmail.com. Babin with Sleazy, the podcast on Facebook, Instagram. Reach out, show love. Tell me what you hate. Tell me what you love. Tell me different guests. I have more people coming, more shows. I'm really excited how season 3 is going already. The 2-parter went well, had a great reception with Paige, Contrary Cherry. So I'm really excited to see where the show keeps going, and I do it because of supporters and listeners like you. So thank you so much, and we are out. Peace. Hoo day.